I mean, I know they're not on Outfit Roulette, but they look pretty cool, right?
It's the Daylight Midnight Show.
Hello and welcome, and it's just occurred to me I should say Happy New Month, because if you're watching this when it uploads, we'll literally just have gone into November. So I hope this month brings you what you might have wished for. Let's get on with it with our slogan of the week then. Interesting one this week, because it's been handwritten. Our slogan this week is Get the Printer Fixed. I've been having a few technical issues for a while now, let's be honest, and I'm not a great one with hardware. I'm not a great one with software or anything like that really when it comes to computers and technology. However, my particular falling down is when things are actually bulky and lots of leads and you have to try and work them out. And for some reason, my laptop is no longer talking to my computer. Sorry, my laptop is no longer talking to my printer. It'll print one page out and then nothing else. And then if you print one page out and then try to print another page out, it shuts itself down. So hence, this week's slogan is handwritten, and hopefully I'll try and get the printer fixed, time allowing, before next week. While we're here, let's do our fascinating fact for a Friday then. This is something that I found out over the course of the last 7 days that I've decided to share with you, and it is actually written down this week for the first time in ages. So here we go. Fascinating fact for a Friday. The scientific study of yawning is called chasmology, as in chasm, big open thing. The scientific word for yawning is oscitation, which is fun to say, but you can't say when you're yawning. And if you yawn and stretch at the same time, it's called pandiculation. 3 for the price of 1 this week. So we could have had an ongoing yawning special where I gave you one fact this week and then another fact next week and then another fact the week after that. But I decided to be generous and give you 3 for the price of 1. I forgot to do this last week, my week in 10 words. So this is yet another thing this series where I've set it up as an idea and then I've forgotten to do it again. But I have done it this week. So to let you know what I've been up to in the past week or so, my week in 10 words. Lovely time in London, boring admin, epic card game, storytelling. Which of those shall I highlight with a bit more detail? Epic card game. The lovely day in London was kind of a personal thing. The boring admin is boring. The storytelling is just work I'm doing this week for Halloween. Epic card game. Are you familiar with the game Knockout Whist? It's a very simple card game that we play as a family where you start with 7 cards each. You lay 1 card at a time. Whoever's got the highest card wins that hand. You have trumps, and after you've played it with 7 cards, you go down to 6, and then you go down to 5. Takes maybe 6 or 7 minutes to play, good fun. My son and I decided to play it with an entire pack of cards. So the first round we had 26 cards each, then we went down to 25, all the way down to 1. It was so close that when we got down to 1 card each, we had to cut the pack to decide who was going to pick trumps. I won the game, but it took about 2 hours in total. So that was the epic card game that we did this week, and that is my week in 10 words. So time for the purple card, which of course has its own theme song, and I forgot to bring a plectrum through, so I'll make do with my fingernail. I've had a lot of injuries, my body's rather scarred. Let's see what is written on the purple card. So the purple card is where I just write stuff down during the week that I want to talk to you about, and then we go over it on a Friday. And I've written blueberry. That's the only thing I want to talk about this week, and I'm going to be quick about this. Sometimes life just throws things at you, and the world seems to conspire against you and cause you problems that you weren't expecting. Particularly in my case, but I think I look for these things, and as a writer I notice when things are happening around me. Anyway, let's get down to the story. Last week or the week before I talked to you about the Powles pea paradigm, which is my observation that if you're using frozen peas, they escape. When you open the bag, they escape. When you try and serve them, they escape. That happened to me this week, but with blueberries. I had one of those nice little punnets from the supermarket, and somehow, in trying to eat them, I managed to drop one on the sofa. Now, as you know with blueberries, they're very soft and squishy, and I thought if I don't find it and I sit on it, it's going to splatter everywhere, it's going to smell, it's going to be hard to clean. It took me about 90 minutes to find one missing blueberry, to the extent that I started thinking I was in some bizarre sci-fi film or a portal had opened to another world and it had disappeared. I have a second-hand sofa that I had to take apart to find it, and I also found some very other interesting items, like an old coin, an old colouring pencil, and I know the people that had the sofa before me didn't have any children, so where that came from I don't know. And I even found an old bit of what I think is one of those tubes that you give dogs that are good for their teeth. I somehow managed to find that down the back of the sofa as well. But not the blueberry, which I'd clearly seen land on the sofa, And in the end, I had to move some other stuff around, and it was tucked in between two folders of papers that I had on the side of the sofa. But it was just incredible that this little thing had disappeared and rolled around and perplexed me for the next 90 minutes or so. And me being me, the anger levels, the frustration levels, I was turning into a very upper middle-aged angry man. But I got through it, and it was fine, and I wanted to share it with you. But it did lead me to think that this blueberry might have had a bit of personality and was deliberately coming after me. And I think you can probably guess where I'm going with this. Was it the blueberry of the Greg world or the Greg of the fruit world? And I wondered, if I was going to be represented by a fruit, what would it be? And so I decided I would find out what fruit I would be by doing one of our fun online quizzes. We'll find out what fruit I am, therefore we'll know what fruit you are. It'll be our fruit, and it will be the official fruit of the Daylight Midnight Show, which I don't think we've ever done before. So, I am on the website, buzzfeed.com, that has a lot of these, and I'm going to go through these questions, and I will just answer them honestly, and we'll work out what kind of fruit we are going to be, and then we'll have a picture of it up on the Door of Delights next week. So the first one is a picture round. Which of these images do you feel the most drawn to? I'm not going to try and show you them by turning the computer around. I'll describe them to you. Two of them are quite obviously AI. There's one that seems to be looking up through a tree. There's one that is this very space age, almost underwater jellyfish look with lots of neon lights on a building. There's a picture of a wall with different coloured bricks, and there's a sunset over what looks like Istanbul. Of those, I'm actually being drawn to the image that looks like it's an underwater city with lots of neon and lots of bright colours. So I'm going to go for that one. Next, I have to pick a food: pizza, burger, pasta or sushi. Easy one for me. I'm going to go for pasta because it's so versatile and I don't like too much bread, and sushi gets a bit boring after a while. Pick a drink. I don't know if this is supposed to go with the pasta or not. I can have a milkshake, a fruit juice or smoothie, a soda or a glass of water. I'm going to go for water. Fruit juice is tempting to get some vitamins in, but I think you can't go wrong if you drink a lot of water. I've just noticed how big this page is, so I hope there aren't too many of these. I'll go through them quickly. Pick an animal next. I can be a monkey, a gazelle, a brown bear or a duckling. I'm going to click the brown bear because they look soft and cuddly, but they can be vicious and hurt you. But I don't know if this is supposed to be representation of me or just what I like the look of. The monkey's got a weird expression on his face. So I'm going to go with the brown bear. Which pet would you take home out of dog, cat, hamster or tortoise? I suppose the tortoise is easier to look after. Hamsters don't live as long. I did actually have a cat in the family home, but I'd have to go with dogs because if I could, work allowing, I would have a dog as a pet. Next, I have to pick a flower. We have the choice of tulips, sunflowers, daisies or rainbow roses. I don't know where rainbow roses come from, whether these are actually made this way or whether they've just been coloured in the picture, but they do look very pretty, so I'm going to go with the rainbow roses. Pick a job: marketing executive, therapist, artist or content creator. I guess as I'm recording this for YouTube, it has to be content creator, right? Just scroll past a few adverts. Pick a scent: freshly baked goods, vanilla, freshly cut grass or cinnamon. Now, that is quite a difficult choice because nothing is lovelier than the smell from a fresh bakery. Vanilla I think is great in a lot of different senses, be it food, be it drinks, be it perfume. Freshly cut grass is great, that lovely smell of spring and summer. That would be in my top 10 smells, which I might do on this show one day. But you've also got to make allowances for hay fever. Cinnamon again is a lovely smell, but it's sort of reminiscent of Christmas. Would you want it all the year round? Of these, I'm going to go for vanilla, which I suppose could make me sound quite bland and boring, couldn't it? But I do really love the smell and taste of vanilla. Pick a dessert. Would I go for tart, brownies, donuts or crepes? I think I'm going to go for the crepes. They've got nice chocolate sauce and some strawberries on top of them there, so I think I'm going to go for that one. Oh, and I think this is the final one. Pick a mythical creature. A dragon, a unicorn, a griffin, or a fairy. I think I would probably go for the dragon. I did actually have a very weird job once where I had to be 1/10 of a dragon. It was Chinese New Year. We were advertising a new Chinese restaurant and they'd hired one of those massive Chinese dragons. And I had to be in the head, and then there were 9 people behind me and we had to walk through a city. And I got in trouble because I took us all in the pub and then we went back out and we were supposed to just be walking around handing out leaflets and I got people doing dances and stuff. Anyway, rare for me to get in trouble at work, but I'm going to go for a dragon. And it is telling me that the result of this little quiz is, that is good timing as well because that's our 10-minute timer, a kiwi fruit. You are a unique person. Not really, because we're doing this as a team, right? Anyway, we are unique. You don't feel like you fit in most places, but you're still trying to find yourself and who you truly are. Despite that, you're a lovely and welcoming person. I guess that'll do. It was a bit of fun. We filled a gap, so we're going to have a picture of a kiwi up on the Door of Delights next week. Our official Daylight Midnight Show fruit is the kiwi fruit, which I must admit, I do like a lot, but you have to be very careful with it because the seeds are so damaging and your body doesn't digest them very well. Anyway, moving on then. We're running out of time, so what are we going to be wearing next week? Let us find out why the rotating randomness of the coloured cube gives us yellow, which happens a lot. So yellow is my hippie shirt, which I've just remembered is still in the back of the car from a party a few weeks ago and should probably be cleaned before next week. Over the top of that, whatever is in column red, which I can tell you from memory is this grey jacket. And over the top of all that, we will be wearing whatever is in column yellow again, which will be sunglasses. So next week, hippie shirt, grey jacket and sunglasses. That's going to be quite an interesting look, actually. Oh, will my hair be up or down? Let's do the crynal coin toss, which I always seem to drop. Let me try that again. 50p on the hand. I put it near the camera so you can see what it is. And it is tails. So tails is for ponytail. My hair will be up in a ponytail again. So next week might be the last one of these shows for a while, for reasons that I was going to go into today, but I won't. I'll go into next week. So a weird work situation has been created where I might be doing a bit of travelling for work over a number of weeks, which means I won't have access to this studio, but I will be taking the camera with me. So it might be that for the rest of the year, there will be intermittent Daylight Midnight shows as and when I can record them from wherever I am. But none of that is definite yet, so we might just keep on going. I'll talk more about that next week. I'll see you next week. Have a great 7 days.